This video is in response to XOmniverse's video, Randroids and Irrationality. In that video, XOmniverse called me an irrational, bullying prick. In response, I made a comment on that video, X, keep some Vaseline next to your computer as you will need it to extract your foot from your mouth. Why do you keep doing this to yourself? Now, normally I would continue on with some humor and maybe make a joke from the movie Team America. However, I'll refrain because a friend has admonished me that my recent use of humor in response to such attacks on me may not be productive. I'm going to play the rest of this straight. In his videos, XOmniverse referred to comment exchanges that we had had. And I have one of those exchanges, which I'm going to read down. In fact, it's the last time that XOmniverse ever commented back to me, and as far as I know, the last time he's ever made reference to me prior to his video. This conversation occurred 11 months ago. Since I'll refrain from using funny voices, I'll use hats to distinguish the speaker. I'll be wearing the hokey hat. Aaron will be wearing the black hat. And XOmniverse will be wearing no hat. The reason I'm reading these comments is that they're the facts that underlie XOmniverse's accusation that I'm an irrational, bullying prick. So let's look at the evidence. This begins in Aaron's video, Objectivism, not Ayn Rand's Philosophy. I respond to Aaron, you are free to disagree with Rand. However, you cannot appropriate the use of a value she created, the term objectivism, and the concepts that define it, while modifying it with contradictory ideas. You are correct to not call yourself an objectivist, and you should go further by not insinuating that you are remotely objective-ish. Objectivism is not an a la carte system, but an integrated philosophy. You can still be an admirer of her art without being an objectivist. The label is unimportant. I agree that objectivism is Ayn Rand's philosophy and has specific principles that one has to agree with to be an objectivist. But who cares? We should all be more concerned with truth than who is and isn't a 100% devotee of Ayn Rand's philosophy. There is no honor in believing something simply because Ayn Rand said it. To say that the label is unimportant is to argue that definitions are unimportant and an endorsement of package deals. In fact, individuals have attempted to profit by using this label while at the same time repudiating critical elements of the philosophy. No individual has to agree 100% with Rand. Hahowever, no one that disagrees with critical elements of objectivism can ride her coattails by using her name without being a second-hander like Gus Webb. Quote, to say one specific label is unimportant in a specific context is to reject the importance of all definitions and endorse invalid, conflated concepts. End quote. Yeah, that's a hell of a straw man you built. I'm saying that one should regard adherence to truth, to the facts of reality, with greater importance than adherence to a single person's self-named philosophy. X, if you quote, don't change the words as you did, for that would be a straw man. I performed an evaluation. If you disagree with my evaluation, that by itself does not make my statement a straw man. By the way, who was arguing that adherence to someone else's revelation was more important than the virtue of honesty? Was that the straw man talking? I was spelling out the nature of your argument, and I never claimed that you specifically believe things just because Ayn Rand said them. That being said, the problem with taking an already spelled out philosophy like objectivism, making a point of adhering to it, is that you begin to stop searching for truth yourself. This is the equivalent of a scientist coming up with a theory, then concluding that it is without question truth and never doing any research ever again. X. Regarding objectivists who stop searching for truth, who are you talking about? None of the objectivists I know are like that. Further, what you suggest violates the objectivist virtues. Is your statement really about how objectivists think that market anarchy is an idea unworthy of serious consideration because its deductions fail basic validation against reality? Instead of talking down objectivist politics, invest effort in finding evidence from reality for your conclusions. I have yet to have an objectivist coherently explain to me how a state can exist without initiation of force, or concede that initiation of force is sometimes okay. As contradictions cannot exist, this sounds like failure of validation against reality to me. But despite having exceptionally weak arguments, they rarely conclude that objectivism holds a contradiction with reality in this regard. This is what I mean about holding objectivism in higher regard than truth. X, did you read The Nature of Government? Rand answers your question there. A proper government, quote, is the means of placing the retaliatory use of physical force under objective control, i.e. under objectively defined laws, end quote. Where is the initiation of force, you suggest? Also, you argue about taxation, but in a proper government, financing is voluntary. The initiation of force comes about if I want to provide the same service the state does, but perhaps for a lower price or more efficiently, etc. The state has to stop me to maintain its position as a state, even if I have not initiated force myself. X. What service is it that you are looking to provide? Currently, private arbitration and mediation are services that are encouraged by statute, and courts enforce those private agreements. Please want and respond to my objectivism and anarchism video to continue this. I address the issue in more detail there. I don't get this. Someone explain to me, how can someone create truth? Someone discovers it. If objectivism claims to be the proper perspective on truth, then it needs to have the focus on truth rather than Ayn Rand. Otherwise, it is more hero worship rather than rational thinking. In order for someone to call themselves an objectivist, they must never detour from Ayn Rand. Maybe you are right, but then I wouldn't hold respect for someone who would call themselves an objectivist. A. Consider the following definitions. Quote, truth is the product of the recognition, i.e. identification of the facts of reality. End quote. Introduction to Objectivist Epistemology, page 63. Quote, philosophy studies the fundamental nature of existence of man and of man's relationship to existence. End quote. Philosophy Who Needs It, page 2. Quote, the name Ayn Rand in this case, have chosen for my philosophy is objectivism, end quote, for the new intellectual, Roman numeral 8. A philosophy can be true, but it is not truth. Ayn Rand is not objectivism, but objectivism is the body of Ayn Rand's philosophic work. Not all of Rand's work and statements are objectivism, as some were applications of the philosophic ideas. Now the conversation switches over to XOmniverse's video, Objectivism and Anarchism. After watching the video, I comment, X, watching your vid, I do not see an answer to the question I asked in the other thread. Quote, what services is it that you are looking to provide in competition with government? Currently, private arbitration and mediation are services that are encouraged by statute, and courts enforce those private agreements. End quote. Also, so I can understand your argument better, what is your educational background related to political science and history? Taking a break from that. The reason I ask that question is so I know how much I have to explain myself when I'm using political ideas. I'm self-educated on both. Let me put it this way. A state is supposed to have a monopoly on the retaliatory use of force. What if I wanted to provide this service? Let me verify that I understand. Within market anarchy, you would be okay with the following situation. A Muslim neighbor construes my atheism and statements against Islam, Muhammad, God as an initiation of force based upon a fraud claim. So without my consent, he hires Al-Qaeda to arrest me, apply Sharia law to the dispute, and finally to cut off my head. If not, how is my neighbor's action drawn from real-world examples inconsistent with market anarchy? Whoa, 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 I'm out of control. I'm going to break out into being an irrational bullying prick any minute now. Don't miss part 2.